I'd like to now open this meeting of the Regional Strategy and Policy Committee. And firstly, I just want to say that we'll have a couple of other items that added in just briefly. There'll be an acknowledgement from Councillor Penrose in relation to awards that we received yesterday, and also we have the Hibiscus Bay's local board chair here who wishes to also talk about the weed management policy as well. So we'll add that in at the appropriate time. So firstly, we'll ask for any apologies.
Chair, can I just, it's not an apology, but for those that left the phone, there's a phone over here. If you want it back, it'll cost you $50. So it's over here for all those that left it down there.
Thank you.
Oh, it's yours, Dean. Oh, you're on a big wage, so it's 100.
Well, it's $100, yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Philip. Stole it. Lost and found department.
Thank you.
We now have apologies recorded from Councillor Darby for absence on council business, Councillor Cooper, Member Glenn Wilcox for absence, and Councillors Lee, Quacks and Webster for lateness. Any others? I'll move those.
Happy to second, Mr. Chair.
Seconded by Councillor Walker. Put that motion. Those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Declare that carried. We'll now have the acknowledgement from Councillor Penrose.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. And I just want to take a couple of minutes, if you don't mind, sir, to acknowledge our staff last night. And it makes me feel immensely proud when we get continually knocked in the media for a whole raft of reasons and around our regulatory area. You know, our regulatory area in particular, whether it's in a building or resource and area, are under pressure and doing immense work. But I also, in this particular case, our bylaw area. I just want to acknowledge our staff, man. They have just gone beyond the call of duty over the last 5.5 years that I've sat around this table and delivered some really great outcomes, not only for the Auckland Council, but the people of Auckland. And last night at the IPANS Award, Public Service Excellence Awards in Wellington last night, Auckland Council won the Excellence in Regulatory Systems Award for the bylaws review. That's taken the bylaws down from 158 bylaws down to 32 across the region. And then they went on to win the Supreme Award, which is the Prime Minister Public Service Excellence Award. Awesome. So again, team, outstanding. Kat, if you can pass that on, I'm sure from all of us to our staff right across the organisation. Again, you know, they're just leading at the front end, and can't speak highly of them. So again, just, Mr. Chair, thank you for taking the time to acknowledge it today.
Thank you.
Yeah.
My understanding, Mr. Chair, also, whilst the awards went back home to the hotel last night, Paul tucked them into bed beside him last night to make sure they were safe.
Thank you, Councillor.
I'm sure it was worth being right with that.
And now we'll move to item.
Don't sound safe.
Item 2, declarations of interest. I don't think there's any been received. Any declarations of interest? No. Item 3 is confirmation of minutes. I move that the minutes of the Regional Strategy and Policy Committee ordinary meeting held on Thursday the 2nd of June 2016, including the confidential section, be received as a true and correct record. Seconded by Councillor Philip Heiner. I'll put that motion. Those in favour?
Aye.
Aye.
Against? Declare that carried. Thank you.
Chair, can I just declare my conflict of interest in item 10?
10. Okay. Thank you.
Around police numbers.
Thank you. We now move to item number 4, petitions, and a petition has been received, which we have here. We've got it here from Georgina Blackmore, and Georgina will be in the public input speaking to us as well. So I move that we receive this petition, which is a petition to the Mayor Len Brown and the Chairman of the Auckland Transport, Dr. Lester Levy, a petition signed by 3,696 people asking to ban the use of carcinogenic chemicals on Auckland roads and parks. Now,
Happy to second.
Presented by Georgina Blackmore. Move that we receive that petition. That's seconded by Councillor Wayne Walker. I'll put that motion. Those in favour?
Aye.
Aye. Against? Declare that carried. Thank you. We now move to, the next item is to public input, and it's Georgina Blackmore. So we'll have you, the three, Georgina, then Hannah, and then we'll move to Tricia. Thank you. So, Georgina, thank you. It's automatically set to the speaker comes on the minute you start talking. Thank you.
Oh, right. Okay. Thank you.
So you have 5 minutes each.
Oh, yep,
Yeah,
no
thank
worries. I'll go as quick as I can. So I'd like to table an open letter. I will speak to it and I'll read it out for you all as well. My name is Georgina. I represent a group called Spray Free Streets that advocates for a chemical-free city. I'm a second-generation campaigner on this issue. There are people in this room here today who have worked for over 20 years to eliminate chemical sprays in our city, and during that time it has become demonstrably worse. There are more sprays on our streets, parks and playgrounds than ever before, and that is why I'm here. I present to you today an open letter from our group, which you will have received via email this week. It reads, to all Auckland councillors, local board members, Mayor Len Brown, and all prospective council and mayoral candidates standing in the 2016 Auckland Council election. We, the undersigned, demand that Auckland Council and all council-controlled organisations immediately cease the use of the chemical glyphosate for vegetation control purposes in order to protect the health and safety of workers, the general public, the health of other species, the natural environment and future generations. There are significant international concerns about the safety of glyphosate, and under the precautionary principle, Council has a duty to cease its use. Scientific uncertainty is not a reason to continue with a potentially harmful activity until the extent of harm becomes clear. On the contrary, it is the reason to be cautious. We demand that Council fast-track the implementation of the Weed Management Policy 2013 and that full regional funding be reinstated for alternative, healthy and environmentally safe methods of vegetation control, not only to those areas of Auckland that have managed historically without chemical treatments, but to the entire Auckland region, which falls under the Council's remit. We care deeply and therefore need to be informed where our representatives stand on the issue of chemical vegetation control and of their intentions when in office. So additionally, we demand that all current Auckland councillors, local board members, the Mayor of Auckland and all prospective council and mayoral candidates standing in the 2016 election respond to this letter, stating their ethical and political positions regarding chemical vegetation control so that this may be a matter of public record. This response should include what steps have been taken to consult with their communities on this matter and what the results of those consultations were, as well as what future consultations they intend to take. We in addition demand that they state which policy they would support or implement if elected to council as a representative of their community. Would they A, immediately implement non-chemical vegetation control, or B, retain current levels of chemical vegetation control, or C, increase the use of chemical vegetation control? If the demands detailed above are not met, we, the undersigned, reserve the right to defend our city, our people and our environment with all non-violent means necessary to stop the use of glyphosate on our streets and parks. So to speak to that, personally I think that on an individual level and on a political level, if something is possible, you should be trying to do it. As soon as you realise that something is having a negative impact, or there's better ways of using our resources or our utilities, as soon as you realise that, you should be moving towards it. They say that wisdom is acting on knowledge. Once you realise that chemicals are unpopular, that they risk our health, that citizens in the city are currently experiencing illness due to their chemical sensitivity, we should be working towards the alternatives. In light of considerable international concern, hundreds of cities, councils and towns around the world have gone spray-free, even whole countries. Right here in New Zealand, Christchurch City Council announced last month that they will be phasing out the use of chemicals in their public places. Hastings, Tauranga, Rotorua and Nelson are all looking at the alternative. In the EU last month, following 3 attempts to relicense glyphosate for 15 years, the EU Parliament failed to get a qualified majority for reapproval. A licence extension was forced through at the last minute by a Commission for only 18 months, and they recommended to all EU countries to work towards removing glyphosate from all public spaces. The way that I see it, we are looking at the beginning of the end for glyphosate. It is being dealt blow after blow. Agrochemical companies like Monsanto are restricting its production and are poised to roll out their next generation herbicide, dicamba. We need to be smart, we need to lead, not allow other more dangerous chemicals to fill the vacuum that glyphosate will leave. We need to be investing in clean, healthy alternatives now so that I don't have to watch my children grow up to be 3rd generation campaigners on this issue. I ask you to respond to our letter. I ask that you remember why you got into this game in the first place. You cared enough about people to want to make a difference. You asked us to trust you that you would represent us. that you would use your power while in office to speak for us. We elect representatives in the knowledge that they care about the same things we do. We have a right to know what you think about this important issue. A democracy should be transparent. I respect that I'm not always going to hear what I like or what I agree with, but the truth of the matter is we have a right to hear what our representatives think. Because at the end of the day, what you believe to be true, what your conscience tells you is right, will drive your decision making and how you exercise your power that we have given you when it comes to a vote. So I look forward to receiving your responses on this soon. In addition, I would like to, can I move? I'd like to move to that we need an online spray-free register where people can register their parks, their community gardens, their schools, their homes, so that it's easy for people to go spray-free.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Councillor Watson?
So thank you very much, Georgina. You've delivered a petition here today. My question is, what do you think that the petitioners, who I assume are a combination of people who fought this battle 20 years ago, you mentioned at the start, you're second generation, whereby people in the North Shore, Auckland City, actually fought and won this over 2 decades ago, and I'm assuming new people with the concern that keep up to date with the literature and the developments overseas that you mentioned in Europe and in our own country like Christchurch. What do you think the petitioner's view is of the Auckland Council then that is going in the exact opposite direction of previous legacy councils and international trends, i.e. it is spraying more chemicals, not less? What do you think the view of that combination of petitioners in our Auckland City is?
That's a fairly wide-ranging, so if you could just...
It covers exactly what was in the petition.
I guess I can only speak to anecdotal conversations I've had with people who have been historically in this battle for a long time, and new people who I speak to who don't necessarily know about it yet. When I explain or give them the weed management policy 2013, which specifically says to minimise the use of agrochemicals for the health of the people in Auckland, and then explain to them that the council is advocating for a blanket use of chemicals all over Auckland, it just doesn't fit very well with people. It makes them think when something is so positive and there is negative effects from something, it makes us very, very, very uneasy, because it makes us think who's running this show, who benefits from not following this policy. And that comes down to transparent government and who is running the show. People start to question that, and faith in the Auckland Council and the super city at large, it does get called into question.
Thank you. Councillor Walker, do you have a question?
Sure. I just have a question, and it's a question of Georgina, but Mr. Kimpton may be able to assist.
No, only of Georgina, please.
Okay, well, I can ask the question.
Yeah.
So, you're asking for an online spray-free register, and I'm mindful that I can register my car online, so it'd be obviously nice to have that so it's easier. And I understand that that's been on the books for a few years now. Do you have any idea of how close that online register is to being implemented?
I believe that there is the spray-free register, which you have to go through very many levels of...
It's clumsy.
It's clumsy for people, and I think that, as you say, if you can register your car online, you could register your house online. I think that we have the technology now. I'll happily set that up for you if you want me to.
So I'm just curious, and I know Mr. Kimpton may not want to answer, but we do have some public interest in making sure that we're efficient and effective. We won those awards last night.
Councillor Walker, stop, please. It's not a time for debate.
I'm not debating. I'm simply putting something on the table.
It's time to ask questions, and you've asked a question. You've got the answer.
Well, no, I didn't get the answer.
You did get the answer. Thank you. No other questions. I'll move that we receive the letter from Georgina, and thank you, Georgina, for your presentation. So we'll move that, and Councillor Walker will second it. I'll put that motion. Those in favour?
Aye.
Aye. Against? Declare that carried. Thank you very much, Georgina.
Thanks. I look forward to receiving your responses.
Thank you. And now